So actors Michael Douglas and Catherine Zeta-Jones, you guys know them?
Yeah.
No?
Yeah.
Well, I only know Catherine. I need to figure out who
I was going to say, I need a reminder of who Michael is, but I know that he's really famous, but I forget what.
Oh my days, you make me feel so old. He's like a huge actor. Like, he has
in
done...
what movie?
What's he been in?
Are you kidding me?
Do you know this?
Guys. And his dad was a very famous actor as well, Kurt Douglas. His dad was like in
Could you just name a couple?
Could you name the movie?
He was in the film with Demi Moore called Indecent... No, it wasn't Indecent Proposal, but it was
He
one
said
about...
Demi Moore, and I've never watched a movie that she's in.
Same. I only know her because she used to be married to Ashton Kutcher.
Yes.
Oh,
Okay, moving on. Actors Michael Douglas and Catherine Zeta-Jones are soon to celebrate their...
Basic Instinct with Sharon Stone. He was in that.
I don't know
No,
these people.
he was in another film with Glenn Close, and she was playing like the famous stalker, the bunny boiler. If you've heard that term, that was from a film that he was in.
Oh yes,
every film is based on
okay.
it. So yeah, he's big time, guys.
Right. Okay.
I haven't watched, but I will watch afterwards.
Thank you.
So actors Michael Douglas and Catherine Zeta-Jones are soon to celebrate their 20th wedding anniversary. With a 25-year age gap between them, their marriage flies in the face of those who believe in that a relationship between two people at significantly different ages cannot work. When it comes to dating, is age nothing but a number? And do you have an age ceiling or a floor that you wouldn't go past when dating?
Well, actually, guys, I can actually bring some second-hand personal experience to this one. Because my parents were actually 20 years apart.
No way.
Yeah. They're 20 years apart when they got married. Obviously they're still 20 years apart. I don't know where I was going with that one. Yeah, they didn't catch up to each other. They're still 20 years apart for everyone listening and watching. It didn't work out. It ended in divorce, but it wasn't because of their age. And so for me, I can see that it can work in circumstances. But for me, I wouldn't do it because I feel that the generational gap is too big. That would be the thing that would really get me about dating somebody who...
Like when someone doesn't know who Michael Douglas is.
I mean, girl, it's a real thing. And that wasn't even 20... Well, in fact, it might have been 20 years ago. But exactly, that's exactly my point. We've just given you the example. I think that I would want someone who not that we necessarily share the same music, but at least we both know who certain people are. And I guess more so, I'm talking about stages of life because my husband and I don't share the same musical interests. So it's not always down to because you're in the same generation, you're going to have everything in common. But we both are going to be wanting probably children at the same time. And we're going to be thinking about our careers maybe at the same time. So I think from that aspect, I would think that I wouldn't go any higher than 6 years older. And to be fair, I've always liked older guys. I always have.
Would you go younger or no?
My husband's
not now,
actually...
of course. I mean, just in...
Yes. Like I told you, he's only getting rid of me through death. But I think that
energy.
My husband is actually younger than me. He's younger than me by a year and a half. And and yeah, it's not that much. But I never would have considered someone younger before him. Like I never did. Every guy I dated was either the same age, but majority they were older. 6 years probably was the maximum. And I always liked that because I felt like I was a little bit of an old soul. So I felt like we were kind of on the same level, but I'll come on to that later. But I think if I went younger, I think probably no more than 4 years, and they would probably have to be mature. Like I'd want a guy who was mature. Like if you're younger and you're mature, then it's not an issue. But because a lot of men, not all of them, mature a bit later, I wouldn't want to be dating a child.
Okay, that's fair. I think that like the issue is that as women, we always just think we need an older man because we think that men are immature in general. So a younger man is just like never going to get there. But I was reading an article of people with an age gap, and the older person said something like, the thing that helped our relationship a lot was me not thinking that I knew better because I was older. And I'm sure that we can all testament to the fact that there are a lot of older men with juvenile brains. So sometimes the age thing doesn't always make a difference. I mean, I remember when I was upset over someone that I dated because they were doing a lot of immature things. And then I eventually just ended it. I said, I'm not going to see this person anymore. And I was talking with my mom about it because I was upset. And she was like, well, you know, you need to date older guys. You need to do this. You need to, you know, 3, 4, 5 years. And I said, he was 5 years older than me. But, you know, my intellectual junior. So sometimes it doesn't.
Oh my God. Sorry. The way you phrase that.
Sometimes it doesn't always make the difference that we want it to. So I kind of had the same thought process as you, Sophie, but now I'm at the point where I have just decided to take people as they are. And I'm open to someone older, I'm open to someone younger, and I'm open to someone my exact age, you know?
Yeah. Do you know, I think that's a good point, because the guy who I dated who was like 6 years older, he's... Yeah, I don't think that he was probably very mature. And my husband is younger than me, and he is the most mature man that I have dated. So you're completely right. I think different strokes for different folks.
Yeah, but have you also not noticed that a lot of older men who notoriously date younger women date them because they are at the same maturity level of them?
Yeah.
So if you're like a 40-year-old man that constantly dates girls in their 20s, it's because mentally and in your life, because you talked about stages of life, Sophie, like mentally and in terms of stages of your life, you're still there. You're in your 20s. You're acting like you're in your 20s at your big age, which is why it makes sense for you to be dating people who are 23, 24, 25 years old. Obviously not always the case, but most of the time we're always talking about an older man and a younger woman. And it's a lot more taboo for it to be the other way around.
Yep.
Yeah. I think for me, I like to usually date people that are my age, like specifically my age. That is usually.
I think that's so odd. It's so odd. Literally.
I don't know why,
but the things that you say.
I know, right? The exact age.
I like to be honestly. Like I can do. You were born in 93 because I'm 94. You were born in 93, but you were like the tail end of 93. I can do, but if you're a 94, then I'm cool. Anyway, so I like people who are, because for me, in my mind, I just feel like we're in the same exact place at life, so we get to experience these things together, and so that's usually kind of like my gist. I go back and forth about would I date older, would I date younger, because there has to be. I would, but there would be asterisks on all of them. So for older, I couldn't see myself going more than like 3 years older. And I don't want to go any higher.
That's the same age bracket.
Yeah, no. Guys, I feel like 1 or 2 years still makes a massive difference. I'm still saying 3 years. Like I could go 3 years older. I don't want to go past 3 years, because then you're going to be at a different stage of life for me. And maybe it was cool when I was 18 and we were kicking it and XYZ, but you know, now that I'm in an older age, if you are older than me, then Luanda don't. If you I know what you're about to say, but I'm saying
Luanda just wants to just say no, Anissa.
No, you're not. But I am Luanda. So now, if a guy is significantly older than me, he is definitely in a different stage in his life. He may start to think about settling down and may want kids and things like that. And that's just not where I'm at. And so I don't want to be in a situation where I have to feel rushed to do anything. Like, that's not what I want to do. And notoriously, I have found that older men who have dated younger women, in what I've seen just in regards to friends and family, it's usually a bit like a control thing is what I see the older man doing. Yeah. And that's not really my portion. And so I just can't. And yes, so for me, not really. But could I date a man who's older than me more than 3 years? Yes. The asterisk comes is, it depends on how much money he has. And then that is when I could say yes for sure. And I know that sounds crazy. It sounds crazy. Because if he doesn't have a lot of money, then I wouldn't. But if he does have money, then that helps the situation a bit. And that goes for younger as well. Typically, no for younger men. But if he had money, it's a different conversation.
Anissa, you just rip up your feminist card right
guys,
now. You take it and you burn it, and then you throw the ashes in the bin. Because
when people have money, they get all crazy and think gold digger. Let me explain what I mean.
Okay.
If you are
You just
older
keep
than me,
digging, keep digging that hole, keep digging it.
Yeah, gold digging. And listen,
I'm done
if you're
today.
older than me and you're significantly older than me, yes, I expect you to have money, because I expect that at this stage in your life, you have some sort of assets, you've been able to manage your money well, and you are financially comfortable. Absolutely. I don't want to be picking up no old man that ain't got his life together. That just sounds ludicrous to me. Like, why would I be doing that? And for a younger man, the reason why I'd have to have money is because you may be at a different stage of your career to me. And if, for example, we got together and then I got pregnant, but you're working a job that can't actually support both of us, then what am I doing? I'm not going to lay on my back to have some big-headed child that I'm going to have to now live in poverty and suffering for. It just wouldn't happen. So I need you to have enough income to where both of us, if I so happen to have a child, that I can be able to still live a comfortable life and your income can support us both. So yes, you have to have money. That is all.
So if they're the same age as you, how do they not need to have money now? Because if they're the same age, then it doesn't matter?
No, if you're the same age as me, you still need to be financially comfortable, but I don't have as much of an expectation as I would if you were younger or older. Like, if you were my age, but you're still like pulling yourself together, I'm not going to be like, oh, you ain't got no money, bye. But if you were older and younger, and then I start talking to you and I find out you don't really have it together, it's an automatic no. So you get more leeway when you're my age. That is all.
Girl,
it's almost
confusing.
as if you're young and you have lots of time to sort your life out.
Almost. But
can I ask you guys?
Go ahead.
What's the oldest and youngest in terms of years that you've gone up and that you've gone down so far?
I've gone one both ways.
6 up and down.
Yeah, I mean, when I was 17, I dated a guy who was like 10 years older than me, but that was me trying to think I was grown. And he was extremely immature.
And they love it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Love it.
Because when
you're a
you're
girl in school uniform who thinks she's smart and thinks she's 18 when she's 15 and okay.
Yeah, like we went on like a few dates, so thank goodness it didn't go anywhere. And I think now that I'm older, I think that you touched on it, Anissa, the power dynamics. The power dynamics are all off because as young girls, we feel like we're older than we are sometimes. And when we talked about cuties, I think it was a week ago, 2 weeks ago, and when young girls are sexualized so much when we're younger, we start to want to be older than we are. So we're teenagers who are 14 wanting to really be 16 and date that 18-year-old guy because it's always put on like to be more sexually alluring the younger that we are. So when I was 17, I dated this guy because I felt I was grown. And now I look back, I might have been maybe 2 years more mature than a 17-year-old, but nowhere near to be dating some 27-year-old guy. Like, not even. And I think that's really came to my mind when I don't know if you guys saw about Marcus Houston.
Oh, yes, I did.
Yes.
Who is 38 dating an 18-year-old. And my thing
engaged
is
to a 19-year-old.
They're married now.
Guys, like,
married. There we go.
Look, I'm all here for big age gaps. Like I said, my parents are 20 years apart, but my mum was like a consenting adult at like 28, 30. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
right. Yeah.
My thing is, when you're dating a young woman who's like 18 when he started dating her, even though I believe he dated her younger, but that's alleged, so it's not fact. I believe it. Sophie believes it.
Sophie's suspicions.
Sophie's suspicions, exactly. I like that. Sophie suspects. Sophie suspects.
That was maybe a little younger.
But when they're 18, this woman looks older for her age. She could easily pass for 10 years older than what she looks. And I'm just thinking, when a man who is in their 30s wants to date someone who is a teenager, she is a teenager. I don't care how grown she looks in her body, how mature you say she is. She's not mature on your level. You cannot time jump mental maturity. You can't have the experience or the life experience or gone through things that a 38-year-old has unless you've lived a very hard and difficult life in 18. And even then, that's probably still not somebody you should be with. But I think that because we sexualize girls so young, it seems okay to date a teenager because they look like a woman, but I'm less like, but mentally they're not. And I have such an issue when men do it and then they try to make out like it's okay because she's barely an adult.
I hate it, and I think that's what puts me off older men, Sophie. Just remembering, like, being a teenager, and I've always had a baby face. I have visibly always looked young, and the fact that older men would still have the audacity, they have no issue. It just freaked me out. Like, it was just disgusting to me. I cannot.
I think my only issue would be, I'm not really super on board for young marriages anyway. And I actually genuinely believe that we need time to find ourselves. And I was speaking to my friend recently who got married in her early 20s and then was divorced in her early 30s. And it's because you're still evolving as a person. Obviously, we evolve for our whole lives, but you can't make such a big life decision when you're going to grow rapidly in these years. Like the growth between like 18 and 30 is like
huge.
Especially for a woman. Especially for a woman. Especially for a woman.
Some you look back now to like early 20s, and you're just like, the people who I dated, I wouldn't even look at them twice in a shop 5 years later. So
I wouldn't even date the people I dated 2 years ago.
Yep. Exactly.
So, it frustrates me because I see a lot of the time, because most of the time, typically, like we said, it's the older man and the younger woman, and I see a man who's been able to live his life. He was young. He's had all this freedom stage. He's had the uni stage. He's had the messy, like, going to work and being drunk and going to work and being drunk and finding yourself. And he's done that. He's lived his life. And he, like you said, Anissa, like now at the point where they're ready to settle. And then the young girl gives all of their prime years to this person who was able to have their prime years to themselves. And that's the thing that that makes me feel like, have we completely thought this through? Because I really think that everyone should have their teenage years to themselves. Everyone should have, the majority of their 20s to themselves. If you don't want to have kids, don't have kids yet. If you don't want to get married, don't get married yet, because you're allowed to have this part of your life as, I don't even want to be corny and say self-discovery, but it kind of is what it is, And so I think when you're in a committed relationship, you always have someone else to consider. When you have a child, you always have someone else to consider.
Someone
and I think we're so
first.
quick. Yeah. And we're always so quick to throw the years where we're allowed to be selfish away on other people who already had that. So you get to have that and I don't. No.
I agree, Luanda. But I will say, just to point out, that some relationships with age gaps do work. Obviously, we said Michael Douglas and Catherine Zeta-Jones, Sophie's parents. I don't know if you guys watch any of the Housewives, but a lot of the Housewives, their husbands are like 20 years older than them, and they're in wedded bliss still after 20 years of marriage. It's beautiful stuff.
I'm not looking to reality stars for relationship advice, and it ain't gonna happen.
Just as an example.
I think Anissa's point is that if you're mutually respectful, if you're willing to work on your relationship, it can work. You just have to be equals at it. Whatever age you're at, you still need to be equal.